Everybody knows the classic board game Snakes and Ladders, but what does it have in common with college basketball? You can go up, you can go down, and only one can win. We're already a couple weeks into the college basketball season, and teams have impressed, teams have disappointed, and teams have proven why they are contenders to win March Madness. I'm your host, Massimo Buonagurio, alongside Nate Johns and Izzy Mackey. So guys, when you land on a ladder in Snakes and Ladders, you get to go up, which gives you a major advantage when you're playing. And a major advantage that teams have when they win, and the best way they can win games is when their top players can perform week in and week out. And we've already seen flashes of that. So Nate, who has impressed you the most and is continuing to climb that ladder?
Well, for me, it's been Ryan Kalkbrenner of the Creighton Blue Jays, the 7-1 fifth-year senior. Came back, 3-time Big East Defensive Player of the Year. So you already know he's getting a ton of production for them on the defensive end. But also, it's been his offense. He's got 25.8 points per game so far this year, which is tied for 4th in the country, shooting 89% from the field, which is tied for 3rd in the country. And he's been really important for this Creighton team because they lost Baylor Shireman to the draft, lost another starter. So there was a lot of roster turnover there, but Kalkbrenner has been the staple of that team. He's been carrying them so far. They're currently 4-0. They have a huge game coming up against the Nebraska Cornhuskers. And Kalkbrenner is going to have another big game there and cement his case for Player of the Year.
It's a good pick. I had to choose Braden Smith from Purdue. He's a junior. He's their point guard. And he's one of the reasons they were able to beat number 2 Alabama. A lot of people there was conversations whether he was still going to be good with the loss from Zach Edey, who just went to that NBA, as we all know. He did get the Big Ten preseason Player of the Year award. So there was conversations about that. He had very high expectations coming into the season, and he met those expectations in that game against Alabama. He had 17 points, 10 assists, and 5 rebounds, which is a pretty good stat if you ask me. And I truly think he knows how to control the ball. He knows how to control his offense, and he can take his offense and make sure that Nate can get the ball and he can score points as well. And that's something you really want as a point guard, obviously. So I think he's one of the best players, and he can really take Purdue to the next level, even without their star players like Zach Edey that we've all heard of and loved.
He could be the next great Boilermaker.
Yes, who knows? Maybe.
Yeah, obviously both those teams had big losses to the drafts, and they were very questioned before the preseason. Obviously ranked in the AP poll, but a little lower, not in that top 10. But obviously we've seen with Kalkbrenner and with the Purdue team, especially with their new addition of the center, Zach Edey, this great 7'4" center, played all years at Purdue, but they questioned it, and then they just beat Bama and Creighton. They've outstanding as well. But there's obviously those other teams that don't perform. And in Snakes and Ladders, when you lay on a snake, that's not good. You don't want to do that. And all teams want to avoid losing. That's just not going to happen. And there's going to be those teams that they lose games, and we think they're not going to lose games before the season starts, and then they end up losing a lot of games. So, Izzy, I'll start with you. Who has really not met their expectations? They've had a bad dice roll and has landed on the snake.
I think a team that had a bad dice roll and landed on the snake, I have to go with Duke University. They had a lot of high expectations coming into the season. I feel like they always have high expectations. They just landed that number 1 ranked freshman, Cooper Flagg. So a lot of high expectations. He's probably going to go into the NBA after this season. So we have a loaded team right now. And it just didn't happen. This week they lost to Kentucky at a neutral site. Kentucky lost a lot of returners, and they have a new coach. So it's a team that Duke should have beat, and they just didn't. And especially at a neutral site, home at Kentucky, maybe I could understand that, but a neutral site, you need to know how to win those games. And it's kind of like their coach right now, Coach Shire, John Shire, he's still in the dust of his predecessor, Coach K. And I feel like he's still trying to live up to that, and he's just falling short. Every season, I feel like it's just, Duke can't get it, Duke can't get there. And even in this season, it's early and we're seeing it, but they're not getting where they need to be. And there was just a lot of high expectations coming in, and games you got to win, they just don't win. So that's a team I think is like on the downhill right now for me.
Yeah, a big part of that too is the freshmen that they have to rely on. You said Cooper Flagg. They brought in him, Con Kneppel.
Yes.
They have those guys, but that could get better as the season goes along, but they're not there right now.
Right, it's still early, yeah.
Speaking of teams that have not met their expectations, hello Villanova. So nice to see you again. Oh, Jay Wright retires and the entire program goes straight to the bottom of Philly. They can't win the City 6 tournaments anymore. They can't do anything right. Let's take a look at this year, shall we? We have 3 losses on the docket already. We got Columbia, an Ivy League team that Villanova would be expected to beat at home. We have St. Joe's, who you've lost to 2 years in a row now, despite the fact that you are in the Big East and they are in the Atlantic 10. And then we have a 10-point loss to a Virginia team that fired their coach. No, he retired just before the season started. So that's where we're at right now with Villanova. Ever since Jay Wright went away, it seems the winning went away with him. And Villanova just has not been able to recapture that spark. This is a team that was winning national championships 5-10 years ago, and now they're struggling to crack the top half of the Big East preseason poll, and it's only going to get worse. They still have games on the docket against Cincinnati, who's currently ranked. You still have UConn, Marquette, St. John's all in conference play. Ooh, the Wildcats are in for some trouble there, and I would not be shocked if Kyle Neptune does not make it to the end of the season. There were already rumors and speculation out there that he wouldn't make it, and the early season results just have not done him any favors.
I mean, I literally wrote an article just before the Kentucky game that on why Duke is going to be the national champion. And, well, I guess it's just a little bit of a jinx. And now I'm writing an article about Villanova. So who knows? Maybe the fall off of Villanova will lead to them being even better. But, I mean, it's crazy how just a few years ago, Villanova, this top team, back-to-back years, winning the national championship. And now the only way you care about Villanova is the Knicks because of how many players they have from Villanova. And Duke, obviously, early, they have so many freshmen. You know, they have Cooper Flagg and they have Con Kneppel. But, you know, who knows? Maybe they're relying too much on their freshmen and they need that experience that so many other teams have. But when you're playing snakes and ladders, you can only have one winner. Just like March Madness, you can only have one winner, only one national champion. So, Nate, who's the best team in college basketball, and who do you think is going to win it all?
Well, the team that's going to win it all, obviously, it's Villanova because I just said how terrible they were. But in all seriousness, you ever heard of the boy who cried wolf?
Oh, yeah, I've heard of them.
Well, I'm the guy who cried bulldog because I'm going with Gonzaga. We say it every single year that this is going to be the Gonzaga team that's able to get it done and that they're going to win and that they have their Hall of Fame head coach, and they never do it. But I really think this can be the year for them because they run deep. They brought in Khalif Battle from the transfer portal to go along with Ryan Nembhard and Nolan Hickman in that backcourt. They got Graham Ike and they got Ben Gregg in that front court. This team is deep, and the biggest sort of indicator for me was the dominant win over Baylor. Obviously, you got your national championship rematch from 2021. The Bulldogs ran them out of the kettle in the first half. We have not seen a Gonzaga team dominate like that, I don't think ever. And we have had those teams in the past, and none of them have had that kind of win. The conference is going to be easier because St. Mary's lost their best player to UConn. So not only is their path there going to be easier, but I think they finally have a team with the continuity that they have, with the talent that they have and brought in. I think this is finally the year that Gonzaga gets it done.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I had to go with Kansas University. Right now, they are ranked number 1, and they are 4-0. They have a good resume of wins, especially over number 10, UNC, which we know is a powerhouse for basketball. And they did beat Michigan State, which are 2 good wins. And so, but their coach is one of the winningest coaches in program history, Bill Self. Unfortunately, though, for the for Kansas, they won the national championship 3 years ago, except after that, they kind of hit a downfall. For the past 2 years, they've kind of been in a slump. They've gotten out in the round of 32 2 years in a row, and last year was actually the first time for Bill Self where the team wasn't even ranked in the top 3 in their conference, which is like something you don't want as a coach who's
You never want that.
No, well, yeah, obviously. But you don't want that as a coach who is, can
He's
do
the coach
stuff.
at-
Right.
he's
And
the
they have
coach at
such,
Kansas.
He has this big resume.
Yeah,
and
and they have such a good, stacked team. But this year, I truly think that this is a year they want to get out of the slump. They need to prove something. They're ranked number 1. They have their high expectations. So I think with that and with the players they have and the talent they have, I really, truly can see them going into March Madness and winning. They have returning players like Hunter Dickinson. He's like good for them. And then they also, in the offseason, they did really well in their transfer portal. They got a lot of pulls from there. So I think with all that and the coach and the team, they have like a passion. They want to win. So as always teams do, but I don't know. I feel like after getting out in the round of 32 after a national championship, you kind of want to prove that you know what you're doing still. So I think that they're a good contender for the championship.
Hey, the year after Virginia got knocked out in the round of 64, they went on to win the whole thing.
Yeah, so who knows? You never know.
I mean, UConn is my pick. I mean, Dan Hurley ball. I mean, it is, who knows? Like, not many teams have ever three-peated, but, I feel like UConn is just such a good pick. I mean, Dan Hurley, his coaching is one of the best coaching I've ever seen. I mean, he works his players to be the best, and that's why they've won back-to-back championships. But as the season goes on, teams will rise and fall on the road to March Madness. We're along for the ride. For Nate Johns and Izzy Mackey, I'm Massimo Buonagurio. Thank you for watching, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to this edition of Penn State Sports Night.
For more content like this and so much more, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and X. For everyone here at Penn State Sports Night,
We are
Penn State Sports Night.